Ahmaud Arbery, and the many other Black lives lost over the last 400 years of systematic oppression and inequality. My name is Alexis Wash, and I am one of the 1% of Black teachers in Minnesota. I was 15 years old when I found myself sitting and crying in my school's office because they had white girls running around in blackface, pretending to be Black. When I went to my administrators, they were more shocked that I knew what blackface was than the fact that they had white students mocking my entire culture roaming the halls. I was told I need to go back to class, and those girls did not need to take off their face paint because they were innocently supporting the school spirit week for our blackout football game. I felt like my school cared more about their sports and their school spirit than they cared about me feeling safe and heard within the school. This is just one of the several racist incidents I've had encountered during my entire education. And unfortunately, many other Black students share similar experiences. I entered the education field to make sure that every student I come in contact with never feels the same sadness, anger, and pain I had to go through. And as a teacher, we are taught that we must create a safe and welcoming environment for all. We need to not only preach it, but we also need to enforce it. It is a privilege that your history is a requirement while mine is an elective. Black history matters, and it needs to be taught year-round, not only during the month of February.
That's right. That's right.
There is more to my history than slavery and the civil rights movement.
That's right.
Education has power, and I believe that we can end racism and ignorance if we just start educating the right way. And as an educator myself, I will always stand behind all my students, regardless of their skin color. But today, I not only stand for myself, but for my family and my Black students. And to all my Black students out there, you are loved, you are seen, and you are heard. Let's give her another round of applause, guys. That was amazing. All right, so our next speaker is Shavonna Talbert, and give her a warm round of applause, please.
All are amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Bluetooth connected.
We're connected. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plane seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be the great strong land of love where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic grief, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Langston Hughes wrote this poem in 1935, 85 years ago. How much has changed? If I sleep at night, I still wake up tired. I'm exhausted, sick and tired of fighting for people to acknowledge that my life matters, to see my humanity, to not fear my blackness, to not racially profile me or make negative assumptions about me, to not kill me and then have the nerve to vilify me in the media, to go as far as to say that I deserved it. But what we deserve is so much more than what we have ever been given. And even at the most basic level, what we need is to be alive. We deserve to live our lives and do the most mundane things without fearing that someone, police, vigilante, security guard, will steal our last breath. We deserve to wear hoodies, go jogging, toy guns, buy Skittles, sleep in the comfort of our home, and so much more without fear of being murdered. I was nervous to come out here today, and not because of COVID-19, even though Black and brown people are once again disproportionately affected. I was scared because I've done this before, time and time again. As a young person in college, I've had white men and white women scream in my face as I marched through Palo Alto, California streets, and they yelled that my life does not matter. I saw my friends and my partner at the time arrested, and if you're not familiar with the Stanford 68, I encourage you to read about that. I saw them see their day in court, and again, I saw injustice play out in front of our eyes. And let's just say I didn't handle it well. So as I look at these young people here, these Rochester public school teenagers, these movement organizers, I am reminded of how much still needs to change. I see how much of the system is failing them, and I see how much we are failing them. I work for Rochester Public Schools as the coordinator of equity. I know that there's so much more to be done to affect change in our school system, to teach our staff and our students to be actively anti-racist. To denounce white supremacy. For all of our students, especially our Black, Indigenous, and other students of color, to know that you belong here, to dismantle the school-to-prison pipeline. You young people are why I do what I do, why I will continue to fight. So, to all of the white people here today, I want to thank you. But I also have to say that you don't get to be tired. You get to be active all day, every day. If you choose otherwise, then you are complicit. So what are you willing to risk? To my Black and brown people here today, to know that I see you, that I'm here to support you when you are tired and when you are weary, so that we can continue to fight alongside of each other. We do this for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tony McDade, Ahmaud Arbery, Rekia Boyd, Philando Castile, Sandra Bland, Eric Gardner, and so many countless others. We all play a crucial role in this fight. So I'll end my time with one of my favorite protest chants, inspired by Assata Shakur, that outlines what we all must do. And I ask that you repeat after me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and support each other.
We must love and support each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to
You might have seen him screaming at you through a megaphone like the king he is. Next we have Daryl Washington Jr.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, the wind feels great.
A little louder? In school, I was expected every day to get up from my chair and cross my chest with my hand and pledge allegiance to a flag. To the United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave. I and many seniors here just graduated last week. Yet here I am speaking and protesting. Today, with this same exact hand that I used to pledge allegiance to the United States of America, I lift this mic up to speak about the injustices that have been done. Injustices that have been brought upon us by the brave that are supposed to protect the free. We saw Hong Kong in their battle with their own government. The tear gas, the bullets, the brutality being inflicted upon its citizens for standing up to a government that they didn't think had their best interests in mind. They fought a government that wasn't listening. And here we are fighting that exact same governmental power that is failing to listen and take action. Because what we are protesting is not just simply the death of George Floyd. It is also a protest against a system that has failed him. And not just him. Tamir Rice, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and many black and brown bodies that I cannot mention today because the list is far too long. There is so much division within this movement. A movement designed to better secure black bodies who are being oppressed by institutionalized and systematic power. The most favorite excuse for this that I like to hear is, well, it's not just happening to black people. It happens to everyone too. Well, if that's the case, shouldn't we still be protesting?
Right.
There seems only to ever be a problem when black bodies are speaking up for our lives.
Yep.
We have tried talking. We have tried peacefully protesting, but that didn't stick. It wasn't loud enough. But now that we are destroying your symbols and systems of power of corruption, we are the problem? As MLK stated, rioting is the language of the unheard.
Yeah.
And we have gone long enough not being listened to. Many do not understand why we are protesting the police in our government. We aren't doing it because we want to. We scream for those who cannot. We scream for those who have been silenced by these exact systems we are protesting today. The politicians we trusted, the government officials we appointed, the businesses we have given money to have failed us. All of these corrupt systems are why we are here today, together. At the end of the day, those officials can take off their clothes. The cops can take off their uniforms. Black people cannot take off our skin. Now is not the time to all lives matter.
Right.
Because they do not.
Right.
If all lives mattered, we wouldn't be here today. I and many others here today would not have to sit here and speak and protest. People across the world would not have to be outside of their homes and speak and protest. Because it's apparent that we do not matter to some and our government has made that clearer than crystal. Solidarity is our strongest ally in these times. As an African proverb says, if you want to go quickly, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. This is not just another protest. Life is not going to go back to normal after this.
Right.
This is history. This is a new civil rights movement. We have to stand together. No matter the color of your skin, no matter the economic status you hold, no matter who you love. It is no longer good enough to be anti-racist.
Right.
You must, with every fiber of your being, be against every system of racism.
Yes.
It is now our time to stand for a common injustice. Not for black lives, not just for black lives, but for human lives. Thank you.
All right, everyone, how are we feeling? Up next, we have Kamal Wilkins. Give him a round of applause, please.
What's up, y'all?
Hey!
How you feeling?
Good.
I'm really happy to see y'all here. Give it up for these kids that put this whole thing together. Hey, we've been in Rochester for a long time, Rochester for Justice. I'm also the State Sierra Club chapter chair. And when I initially started Rochester for Justice, I actually said, we'll call Rochester for Justice because Rochester ain't ready for a Black Lives Matter. I think they're ready. If you were 10 years old and watched Trayvon Martin's murder and got away with it, you are now 18. Since that time, you have witnessed dozens of nationally broadcast news stories from the horrific assaults and murders from black people all across the country. Tamir Rice, Tony Robinson, Philando Castillo Clark, Eric Gardner, Freddie Gray, Akai Gurley, John Crawford, Michael Brown, Rakia Boyd, Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, and now George Floyd. Now I'm out of breath saying all those names. I can't breathe. You've been witness and seen enough violence, police brutality, police operating so callously, cruelly to black bodies that you're done. We're all done. We're done watching them kill black people with impunity and mostly never be charged. Some even get promotions, get vacations, and some simply move to a new community where they're hired to wreak chaos and destruction on other black bodies like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
For some people out here, you might be ready to tear some shit down. I understand. But this problem doesn't only exist as structural failures. It's inherently a connect in this social contract. White folks like Amy Cooper in New York Park who calls the cops to scream that her life was being threatened. She wanted to happen to that black man what happened to George Floyd.
Yep.
In that case, she wanted that black person to be murdered because they asked her to leash her dog. You think I'm playing? You think I'm exaggerating, right? They know exactly what they're doing when they reach for that phone to call, or even to simply threaten to call the cops on black people. It's an admission that the cops will do what they have witnessed time after time after time. They want that black person murdered by the people who specialize in the modern lynching and effectively proving they are perfectly aware of the imbalance of rights. They plan to win that argument with their white privilege. That's a very real relationship in this particular and regular occurrence every day for black people all across this country. Starbucks, calling the cops on little black kids for having lemonade stands. Barbecue buddies, pool party patties, someone might be on the phone right now calling the cops because I caught you white. See, they understand the relationship between black people and the police so well that they regularly use that imbalance to try to win the pettiest of arguments. With what? The threat of death. It's that real and that clear, so they understand the motherfucking problem.
Yeah.
Yes, we are in a pandemic, but there has always been a national pandemic for black people in this country. We do not share the same rights as our white counterparts, so don't you dare use the language of riot.
Woo! Yeah.
A riot is indiscriminate and without rationale or focus. We know exactly why this is happening. It is a response to inaction by our government's policies of mass incarceration, slavery, murder, lynching, and black people and brown people all across the nation being abused by police power. It's an effort to finally galvanize the voice of well-meaning white non-racists to demand with us our call to equity. It's not a riot, it's a political revolution. I will not say it's bad nor good. It's a consequence for allowing a failed justice system to exist. We have built the system around white supremacy. This righteous anger and the international outcry for police reform we see today is giving me hope. People like you and the millions of marchers and protesters we are seeing, even at the smallest communities. You are making me believe that what we might be witnessing is white supremacy in its death throes. My friend Lucas Michael made a joke on Facebook, or a comment. Yeah, I just dated myself. I'm still on Facebook, no Instagram and all that. I got like 3 pictures on Instagram. But he said, I support Luke Skywalker in the rebellion. However, I don't think that they should blow up the Death Star. They should find other ways to protest Darth Vader and the Empire. You know, without destroying property in their own solar system. As America mobilizes the military and National Guard to prevent people from protesting a police murder, keep in mind that they've been protesting in Hong Kong for a year, and China hasn't sent the military. There have been 9,000 total arrests in over a year in Hong Kong protests. Guess how many we're at in America? 9,300 in less than 2 weeks. They're proving our point. In the U.S., we are threatening to have military shoot people to protect corporate merchandise, again proving that they are there to protect property and not people. And we're supposed to believe China's the authoritarian ones, right? Defund, demilitarize, abolish. To judge the health of a community's should not be centered on arrests, citations, searches, or stops as it is today. It's a punitive justice system we should all be seeking to destroy. While it's important to talk about reform, it's more important to talk about what are the root causes of crime. We know random patrol policing doesn't work to decrease crime. We know increasing penalties isn't effective in reducing crime. We know that prison does not work as a deterrent for violent crime. And the prison industrial complex is an unsustainable business.
Absolutely.
Demilitarize, abolish.
Yes, sir.
The cops only exist because the gap between the wealthy and the poor is so severe. A healthy society does not have stormtroopers roaming the streets and with a penchant looking for violence. We don't need them if we have had social welfare systems built to protect people from things like poverty, food and housing insecurity, robust addiction and mental health programs. Regina?
Yeah!
A livable wage, free college, and universal health care. Defund, demilitarize, abolish. Am I good? One more? Okay.
One more.
I put a paragraph out because I knew it was over time, but looks like we got something. Look, and I'm going to speak to you honestly here, just a little off the cuff. The reality is that the crime rate's going down. It's been going down since 1993, when we decided that we were all of a sudden going to start building up our police forces, and Clinton and Bush came in and said
all of a sudden the whole proposal for politics was that you could only win if you were tough on crime, tough on crime, tough on crime. We all knew that, right? When I was coming up, that's what we heard over and over again. That's how Clinton beat, that's how Clinton won, that's how Bush won, right? So we had this massive influx of money, militarized the police and MRAPs and military gear. I've written research papers on it, right? But the truth of the matter is, most experts agree that more police never equates less crime. None of those theories or philosophies match up with that, with the reality of what we see today. It comes from those social programs.
Yeah.
So since 1993 and 2018, the violent crime rate has fallen 51%. Right? So when the politicians talk about being tough on crime or spending more money on police or giving them MRAPs and giving them bulletproof vests and all the stuff that they're talking about, for who? They're talking about protecting property. They're not talking about protecting you and your interests, right? And I'll keep going on this later on. I'll take your time with it. But I've been doing research to figure out exactly how much money we're spending even right here in Rochester. We stay focused on what's going on right here. How much money are we spending on our police force? Well, guess what? It's like a third of the entire budget. A third. So where did that money go? Right? Schools, right? Healthcare. Right? The warming shelter. We can't figure out what to do with the homeless people. We got a warming shelter, and now they're fighting over, what, 1.5 million or so? 1.5. The police budget's $30 million, 30 million in the city. I digress. Police abolition is not about defunding every police department instantly. A lot of people say, well, what do you mean? What are we going to do if all the police don't have jobs? It's about a gradual process of strategically relocating resources and funding. It's gradual. Rather than the strangers armed with guns we see in our communities, we create more space for mental health and social workers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Schools and educators, coaches, and religious leaders.
Oh, yeah.
To really fight crime, we don't need more cops. We need better jobs. We need more educational opportunities. We need more...
Yeah. Yeah.
We need more community centers, more mental health resources, and more say over how our communities function for us and by us.
Mm-hmm.
With that, we could abolish the police, okay? Because the root cause for violent crime would cease to exist. Defund, demilitarize, abolish. Okay? Let me try something quick. Everybody clap with me. It's kind of quick. Clap. I see you know this. You're just saying, don't be nervous if you can't listen to the other guy next to you. Right? No, clap slow. It's how do Defund, demilitarize, abolish. Defund, demilitarize, abolish. Defund, demilitarize, abolish.
Defund, demilitarize, abolish. Defund, demilitarize, abolish. Defund, demilitarize, abolish. Defund, demilitarize, abolish. Defund, demilitarize, abolish.
Organizers, can I get a warm welcome to Yezi Gutsa? Hi everyone, my name is Yezi Gutsa. I am 17 years old and I'm currently a junior at Mayo High School. Before I begin, I would just like to thank you all for the overwhelming amount of support and for being here today. I especially want to thank my parents and my family for the overwhelming amount of support that you have given to me and keeping me sane this past week. I have lived in Rochester my entire life. I've called this place home for the past 17 years.
My father moved here when he was just 11 years old, fleeing from a war-ridden country. He left Africa and came to America, land of the free and home of the brave, right? He learned quickly that behind the scenes, America too was fighting its own war for hundreds of years, a war on race. In America, he learned quickly that his skin color made him an other, an outsider, and in some eyes, a criminal. My mother was born in this country, and despite being raised by two white parents and living in a middle-class neighborhood, she experienced her own set of challenges. She was challenged with being one of a few black students at John Marshall High School, right here in Rochester, during a time where race relations were extremely tense in the city. She was called names and was constantly faced with racist actions toward herself and her peers of color. Instead of my parents becoming angry and jaded with the experiences that they faced, they thrived. And they raised their children to love and care for everyone they met. They had 3 children, and they still couldn't protect them from the same hatred that they faced growing up. I remember growing up wondering why I looked different than everyone else. In kindergarten, I had a play date with one of my best friends at the time. And the following day, after our time together, we were sitting on the bus when she turned and said to me, "My parents said I can't hang out with you anymore because you're black."
Oh.
After hearing those words spew out of her mouth, my world shattered.
Oh, man.
My younger brother grew up hating his dark skin.
Oh, my God.
We used to play games on the Wii, and he would always choose the white characters. Being young and naive, I was so confused as to why my brother wouldn't embrace his dark skin. It soon became clear to me when I would watch the news and I would see innocent blacks' lives being killed. I too started to hate my brown skin. I began to tear apart my black features. I looked at my melanin-infused skin and I wished it would go away. I thought maybe if I looked different, then maybe people wouldn't hurt me and they would be my friend. As I grew older, my self-hatred also grew. I would straighten away my beautiful curls and try to conform to the white societal norms. My parents may have loved me to love and accept everyone around me, but I just couldn't learn how to love myself. Growing up, we rarely learned about diversity in school. It wasn't widely talked about, and most racial incidents were just brushed under the rug. I didn't have teachers that looked like me, and the images of blacks in the media were frequently negative. I had to learn over the years to advocate for myself and to be the change that I wanted to see. And that is why I have a message for all of you here today. To the parents in the crowd, please raise your children to love and to accept every single person they meet, regardless of their appearance. Hate is taught and learned.
Yeah.
So I urge you all to have these uncomfortable conversations with your kids. Please work on making this world better for the next generation so no child has to grow up feeling unwanted. To all of the teachers in the crowd, I ask you to teach your students about real life. Don't be afraid to have these in-depth conversations about these difficult topics. Challenge your prior beliefs and learn from your students. They too have a lot to teach.
Yeah.
Advocate for all of your students. Listen to their needs and seek out the students who may need extra attention. You all impact their lives more than you know. To all of the school officials, I ask that you allow these teachers to have open and honest conversations about race and diversity.
Yes.
Acknowledge the systematic racism that has plagued our school system for years and still oppresses our students of color. Listen to our needs and help us make the changes that we wish to see. To all of the government officials that came here today, I ask that you do the job that you were elected to do.
Yeah.
Represent all of us. Learn from us. Hear us. Fight for us. Or we will find and we'll vote for someone who will.
That's right.
And finally, to all of the youth here today, I am so sorry. I'm sorry that these issues are ongoing and that we've had to step in to make the changes that we want to see. I ask that you all continue to love one another and to embrace your differences. Every one of you is beautiful. Society may not tell you that, but I promise you are. Continue to fight for the things you believe in, and change soon will come. You shouldn't be here today. I shouldn't be here today. I shouldn't have to plan a protest that proves that my life matters, that my family's life matters, that every black child's life matters, and that every single black soul here and around the country's life matters. I am 17 years old. I should be worrying about studying for my ACT, thinking about what college I want to go to, and doing stupid things with my friends. But instead, I worry every single time my little brother goes on a run with his hoodie on, and my dad getting pulled over by the police. This is, and likely always will be, my reality. What are you going to do to change this?
Please give a warm welcome to Denisha and Jasmine.
Hello everyone, I'm Denisha and I'm 11 years old.
I'm Jasmine, I'm 10 years old.
We gathered here today to talk about our black community, rights, freedom, and equality.
Black men and women are getting killed every day just because of the color of their skin, and this is not right.
We are afraid to think that our fathers may be next.
Everywhere we go, we get made fun of our skin color or called the N-word, and this shouldn't be happening.
Police should be embarrassed of what happened to George Floyd and a bunch of other black lives that have been taken by police brutality. But instead, they are sparing tear gas and shooting rubber bullets at peaceful protesters, and it needs to change. Being black isn't a crime, so stand with us to make a change.
Awesome.
Okay, everyone, we're going to do a quick little PSA. If you lost your debit card, Stephanie, can you come to the side? I'll give it to you. Okay, now please give it up for Regina Anne. She's one of our organizers.
I decided that it wasn't just for me, it's for all of us here today. So I want to be a part of it. So I'm going to need y'all to participate. Can you do that? Can you do that? All right. So I'm going to say Black Lives what? You say? All right. Each time I'll be a little bit more passionate. I'm going to say it 3 times in the first part of my speech. I'm going to say it 1 more time at the end. You got it? Cool. All right. Black Lives what?
Matter.
Black Lives what?
Matter.
Black Lives what? Matter. We said Black Lives Matter. And they said, what? We said, please stop killing us, waving our white flag. And they said, but you kill each other. When I was 13 years old, I realized that one day I would have to explain to my children why they're target practice for a blue suit and a golden badge. I would have to come to an understanding that one day my white kid's kid will kill my black one. I would have to explain to them why they can touch their hair without permission, why they say he sells drugs when he doesn't, why they call us racial slurs without discretion. When I was 15, I stood in the face of injustice in my system. I was convinced that I wasn't cut out for this. I wasn't cut out for this world. It wasn't made for me, and I wasn't in their plans. But I didn't have a choice, just like many of you from the day I was born. I didn't think I had what it took to prove the white lies wrong, just like many of you. Little did I know that it wasn't the system that failed me. It wasn't designed for me, just like many of you.
is made us. Either we become the palatable stereotype or we become the bitter one that they make us afraid of. Now, I'm only 17, and I realize that it's not just me. It's not our fault that the world ain't cut out for us. For our skin, for our intelligence, for our liberation. No longer will we have to step on eggshells so we don't break the white fragility that sits underneath.
Woo!
No longer will we have to make sure that we're not too aggressive for our white friends. No longer will we let the people that we are bonded to by blood believe that the blood we share is in the same color.
Woo!
No longer will we devalue our beautiful lives. Because we are Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Tony McDade, Sandra Bland, Stephon Clark, Tamir Rice, Ayanna Stanley Jones, Daniel Castile, Freddie Gray. And no longer will we devalue their beautiful lives. Because they are within us. They are a part of us. And this is to my black and brown community. You are not weak for not wanting to see the hatred every day. I understand it. Mental health is deteriorating as we see black and brown bodies' blood spill on the streets. And it was never, and should never be, your job to explain to people why the system they made doesn't work for us. To all the black and brown babies, elderly, and everybody's ages in between. You are strong, and you are powerful, and you exist, and you matter. Because I've got you, and we've got you. Because I said, you said, we said, Black Lives Matter, what?
Black Lives Matter!
Thank you. Can we get another round of applause for Jada?
You might have seen him at the Impeach Trump rally or any other community event. He's around there. We got Dennis Solis. Give him a round of applause.
Oh, Dennis Solis.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, Danny.
You know, it's great to see all of you here. But obviously, the reason that brought us here is less than great. It's anything but great. But before I begin to give my spiel, I want you to give another round of applause to these young people that organized this whole thing. And then I would like to offer all of them and all of the young people in this crowd a sincere and heartfelt apology. Because I'm 60 years old, and me and the rest of the people that are old people, while we haven't failed, because you only fail if you quit trying, we haven't succeeded in changing your world enough to prevent something like this from happening. I'm sorry. Now, I thought about making notes and writing stuff down, but I've had this conversation so many times, I know it by heart. I don't need to look at a piece of paper to remember Santos Rodriguez. That's a name you may not know. That's okay. Just Google it, Santos Rodriguez. In 1972, he was shot in the head at point-blank range by a Dallas police officer, Daryl Kane, with a .357 Magnum while Santos' 13-year-old brother watched. Santos was in handcuffs at the time. If Santos had lived, we would be the same age today. Police brutality is no aberration. It's no stranger to us, to the United States. We've always known it's there. We've either chosen to ignore it or to accept it. Some of us. But some of us are here to try to change it. I was 10 years old in Dallas, Texas. Very little has changed because the system, as some of the speakers have already said today, is designed to do what it did to George Floyd. And to protect the people that do the things that they do to us. The system isn't broken, it's working just fine. So we must abolish the police as they exist today. If we are to ever, as people of color, feel safe on our streets, people of color, it's an important distinction. I am Chicano, proud, Mexicano, mestizo, Chicano. And I've watched as injustice visited everyone in my community. And it's been my honor and privilege to stand shoulder to shoulder with all my brothers and sisters in this fight. But it's not over. And it's not going to be over with this rally. When you go home and you put your sign away, and you take off your Black Lives Matter t-shirt, and you go back on social media, and you go back to whatever you're doing, because I understand we have to live. We have to be able to just live. Because, hello, what's the point? What's the point of all of this if we can't have a good life? But remember, it's an ongoing process. It's not going to be solved next week. It's not going to be solved in a month, a year, 10 years. It's like erosion, and you can't quit. You know, I want to address the idea that destroying property is somehow a bad thing. That destroying property in the service of saving our lives is a bad thing. Did everybody just suddenly forget the Boston Tea Party? That was a bunch of rich white men pissed off because they had to pay taxes. They weren't being slaughtered in the streets. They just didn't want to give up more of their money. And yet we consider them great patriots today. So if you're a white male in America, you can go wreck shit, and everybody will be like, well, that's so great, you're a fucking patriot. But if you're a person of color, no, don't do that, you're doing it wrong. Well, all the peaceful protesting hasn't really worked so far. And now we're at this juncture, and all of you are here, and people are finally listening. We've got their ear. We have to keep it. We can't stop. We cannot stop. I implore all of you to do the work in whatever shape that takes, whatever form that takes, whether it's educating the person who's sitting next to you at the coffee shop, or your friend on Facebook or Instagram. Try to talk to those people. Educate the ignorant. Thank you. Holding up the sign right there. There's been a lot of call and response. I've got one too. It's very simple. I'm gonna say what, and all of you say, evolution, revolution. Just one time, my mic keeps cutting out, so I don't know if y'all hear exactly what I'm saying, but that's okay. I'll tend to go on and on if you let me. Y'all ready? Yeah. What?
Revolution! 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 Revolution!
Thank you very much.
All right, so our next speaker is Makeba Magumbo. Please give her a warm welcome.
How y'all doing? Can you give a round of applause to those who've been organizing this? My name is Makeba Magumbo.
protest all that we want to get the government to pay attention to us. We can boycott all we want to make a statement and express our anger. We can sign as many petitions our hands can muster to have laws changed. But in all honesty, that wouldn't amount to much if people cannot change their hearts and mindsets to acknowledge that racism, social injustices, inequality, discrimination, bigotry, prejudices, and police brutality continues to breed in our communities, especially in our Black communities. As a Black mother, how do I prepare my children knowing that they will face some type of racial bias against them based on the color of their skin? I won't be able to hold their heads. I want to raise them to hold their heads up high and stand tall, but I'm not always going to be their voice when they leave the house. As a Black woman married to a Black man, how do I curb my fears that my husband could be stopped or pulled over by a cop who harbors these deep racial biases? What happened to George Floyd could happen to my husband or any other Black man. Hate is taught. So how do we change this narrative in our homes? How do we raise our children? Justice must prevail. Philando, Ahmad, Brianna, Trayvon, George, and the list goes on. But how much longer are we going to keep building this list? To do this, we need to change each other. I see from here we have everyone coming here, and I'm in awe just seeing everyone coming to join hands and fight this. For so many years, we've been oppressed. So addressing these difficult discussions, we need to have them in our households. So I implore everyone who have families and children, talk to your children, talk about race. Let these conversations be organic, because if we don't, then that means we're ignoring that it does exist. Thank you.
All right, so our next speaker is Nicole Andrews. Give her a warm welcome, guys.
I just want to say I'm so heartened and filled with joy looking at these young people today. Y'all have filled my spirit, so thank you. First, I want to honor the looted land that we stand on today.
Yeah.
I want to honor my ancestors whose looted and violated bodies brought me here today. I have spent the greater part of the last 2 weeks speaking and educating my white friends, family members, and random trolls on the internet. I have given from my empty cup time and time again in the last few weeks. This is not a new predicament. As a Black woman, an educator, an advocate, and most importantly as a mother, this is my honored duty. But I find it taxing as of late. As we continue to manage a pandemic that disproportionately affects Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, we have been asked to socially distance ourselves. Coming from a community that regards physical touch, communal eating, and village mentality, I feel emptier than I ever have before. Today, I come to speak to those of us who are empty and still asked to give. I come to speak strength to the Black and brown people who are now called upon to educate those who have turned away from our pain for years, called to lead discussions in spaces we were never welcomed, and speak in systems that continue to oppress us as they use our words and our bodies to continue to justify paying us less, supporting us less, and keeping us in menial positions. I come to speak strength to the invisible essential workers, the mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, cousins, and mentors of Black children who are asking questions we no longer have answers for because we are drained. For the last few weeks, even leading up to the murder of our dearly departed brother George Floyd, and the murders of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and the false calls to law enforcement from white women like Amy Cooper and Patricia Ripley, I started to look for new levels of strength. I started to reach out for the well that never seems to run dry. I cried out to God, begging for protection for my family, and strength to continue a fight even when I didn't feel like I had anything left. I called my mama, whose sound wisdom drips from the voice of her mother before her and her mother before her. Woo! I reached out to my sister circle, a new beautiful collective of Black women that I have trusted and have an honest kinship with. I joined groups like Girl Track and Black Women Lead on Facebook and other social media platforms. I listened to Jill Scott and Erykah Badu, who filled my soul with renewed power and strength. I listened to powerful messages from Angela Davis, Nikki Giovanni, Audre Lorde, Ella Baker, and Nina Simone. I danced and sang with my people via Zoom, Instagram, and Google Meets, but I never disengaged. I never turned away from or dishonored the pain that the collective was feeling. In fact, I leaned in. I found strength in their words. I even found joy. So as we continue the work, because although we have 4 men locked up, we still have babies in jail at the border. We still have them.
Yeah.
We still have protesters being beaten every single day. We still have a militarized police. We still have systemic oppression in our school system. We still I want to present you with the words from incredible Black women and men, not to exploit their pain or their work, but to elevate it and actualize their power. A gift that was given to me by my Chiro, Shavannah Talbot. Woo! When you hear phrases like, just stop looting, think about Ella Baker saying, in order for us poor and oppressed people to become part of society that is meaningful, the system under which we now exist has to be changed. Think of Frederick Douglass saying, it's not the light that is needed, it's the fire. That's what we're using. When you hear, I don't see color, draw from Amanda Seale saying, it's an understanding and a recognizing of differences that we are not only able to honor, but empower other people and able to share. When you are asked, what do I do next? Say, don't let the uncertainty of how you should show up keep you from showing up.
Wow.
And here Ella Baker saying, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. When you hear there are good cops, think of Audre Lorde saying, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. And when you are faced with injustice in your own work systems, like the idea that we continue to have SROs and officers in our schools, despite historical trauma, say to yourself what Nina Simone said, you've got to learn to leave the table when love's no longer served.
Bam!
Know that I love you, that we love you, we continue to fight and support each other as a collective, and I encourage you to create a well. Learn and lean into Sojourner Truth's words. Life is a hard battle anyway. If we laugh and sing a little as we fight the good fight of freedom, it makes it all go easier. I will not allow my life's light to be determined by the darkness around me.
Oh my God, that was good.
Hi everyone, thank you for holding in there. Now, I know that it's hot and I know that this is long, but I want to have you all give a big round of applause to our final speaker. He's a good friend of mine. He's one of the organizers and one of the goofiest people I know, but so incredibly talented. Give it up for Kasar Mehta!
Y'all hear me okay? Now, my name is Kasar Mehta, and before I read this, I want to let y'all know the original author of these words, Torres Hodges, could not be with us here today. So I will be reading his words. Thank you very much for having me today. Though I can't be with you physically, I very much am with you all in spirit in fighting the same fight here in Minneapolis. Before anything else, I would like to honor Brother George Floyd, Sister Breonna Taylor, and Brother Ahmaud Arbery, for they are our entire reason for collecting at this moment. May their legacies live on forever. When I was approached by Kassan with the invite to speak to you today, I immediately felt humbled and honored as I felt the gravity of the request. This is no task I take lightly, quite the opposite. This may very well be one of the most important moments of my life as a black man. A man I believe to be wise once said that, where there is no counsel, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. Without counsel, plans go awry. But in the multitude of counselors, they are established. For by wise counsel, you will wage your own war, and in a multitude of counselors, there is safety. So after receiving the invitation today, the spirit within me was immediately compelled to seek out my own personal wise counsel. To each of them, I asked, what do I say? You have to speak the truth and do it in such a way as to give the people hope that welcomes them into a greater community of fighters and believers in change. Carrie Francis Sims, minister and auntie in Christ. This can't be just another 3-week trend. There's no time limit to the relevance of Black lives. We must start holding these conversations and each other accountable right now. Honestly, I feel a lot of anxiety about you going up there, but I can't and won't be the family member who doesn't support you. I don't want to share you with anybody else, and I would be absolutely devastated if something happened to you. I love you so much, Destiny Hodges, Pharmacy Prior Authorization Specialist and wife. Speak and pray that they come to full knowledge of the truth. Jesus Christ, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and personal Savior. So, what is the truth? The truth is that I lived my very first encounter with racism in now Fairway food stores, then Rainbow Foods, in Northwest Rochester in the winter of 1996 by the meat cooler. Mom looked at me and said, "Hey Torres, ever notice how all the white people here always stare at us?" I looked up at an old white man who was already gawking at me completely. Truthfully, I hadn't noticed any of this until she pointed it out, after which racism was like a set of permanently affixed 5D glasses, or a horror TV channel that I could never take or turn off at night. The truth is that despite the very real and obvious need of equity, inclusion, and diversity work within this community and all American communities, I witnessed firsthand from 2014 to 2019 the painstaking and near impossible struggle of local organizations like the Rochester, Minnesota NAACP and Diversity Council to stay alive and funded by this community while having to constantly convince the Rochester community of their sincerity, relevance, and necessity. The truth is that in 2017, I took the time to hold space and say the name of each murdered unarmed Black victim of police brutality since 2013. That process alone took me 2 hours and 41 minutes. The truth is that I applied for a job with the Rochester Area Chamber of Commerce in 2017, and during the course of said interview, was told by the chamber leader that if I got the job, I would be representing Rochester area businesses and couldn't have any affiliation with Black Lives Matter. The truth is that I'm tired and honestly find it very difficult sometimes to have any shred of faith or hope in humanity and struggle with speaking the truth in love so many times. The truth is that an innocent Black man, an American citizen, has been murdered yet again by a system claiming to be dedicated to the protection and service of all American citizens, regardless of their background. When it comes to truth, embodying it, honoring it, living it, we must ask ourselves, is the statement Black Lives Matter the true one? Because if it is indeed true, then America cannot and will not be able to stand on its current foundation of Black oppression. So when it comes to justice for George Floyd and all Black lives, coming together in hope and love in our communities, dismantling age-old systems of legal, economic, and demonic oppression, I urge you to relentlessly, courageously, individually, and collectively pursue truth. For it is the only way we will ever awaken from this nightmare of lies. Hold your representatives accountable to the truth. Ensure your teachers are teaching the truth. Command your judges to judge with the truth. Demand your police enforce the truth. For the truth shall set you free. Thank you.
All right. Can we get another round of applause for everybody who spoke today?
Come on, get it. I don't need it. Thank you. Oh, never mind. You need it. All right. So we understand why we're here. We understand that a man named George Floyd died on May 25th, 2020, unjustly. And we are here to fight for justice for him, and not only him, but the countless black lives that have been lost to police brutality. So to commemorate the death of George Floyd and many others, we are going to be kneeling, bowing, or sitting, however you're comfortable, for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. So get in a comfortable position. Beware of the geese poop. Yeah. You can put your fists up, or we ask for everyone to stay silent for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Ready? We're starting now. Thank you, everyone. Alrighty, everyone shake it out. Okay, now we're going to do a quick call to action before we have our little break time. But now, I'm sure many of you in the crowd are wondering what you can do to prevent this. Many of our speakers have touched on it, but a message from the fellow organizers. Here are some things. First, you can get registered to vote. If you're unaware of how to do so, there's a table at the Art Center with more information at the convention. We love voting. It's great. If you're already registered, make sure you vote in every single election. Not just the presidential, local ones matter too. Your vote sends a message to the politicians that inaction is as unacceptable as blocking reform. Contact your legislators, council members, school board members, and local politicians and demand that we as a community have a comprehensive review of what we want our police to be. On Tuesday, Mayor Norton is convening the Community Oversight Board. But this is not about oversight. This is about reinventing the job of policing. We are calling for open community forums and city council meetings where the community can review police policy, training, and their mandate. There's a proposal gaining traction across the country known as 8 Can't Wait. This is a bare minimum of things that should have been done 20 years ago. And we have several candidates running for office. I'm looking at you, not really, but I'm looking at you metaphorically. I hope you have heard what the Rochester community has had to say and follow through on your promises to us. We will be voting accordingly in November. To the attendees, do not be afraid to reach out and ask them about their policy, because we must vote responsibly. We have an opportunity in Rochester to create lasting change. With the commitment and enthusiasm I see in the crowd, we will seize this opportunity. Thank you.